everyone, and thanks for tuning in with me today for another episode of Rise Talks, the Business Spotlight series. Today, in this series, we are shining a light on everyday tax pros all around the world who are building successful tax and accounting firms. So today, we're joined here with Tino, a tax entrepreneur and the founder of JG Tax Notary Services. How are you today, Tino?
I'm doing good, thank you.
Great. So can we just start off with you telling us a little bit about your story and how you got started in the industry?
Sure, no problem. I've been a veteran for a little over, I got out in 2011 from a naval service, and ever since I was a kid, all the way back to 16, and I got my first W-2, I started doing my taxes on my own. I went down to the post office, grabbed the 1040 EZ form, and started filing taxes that way. I never felt the need to have to go pay, since it's something I can do. And, it was just kind of a challenge to myself. But from there, over the years, I went to college and I dropped out. Then I enlisted in the Navy. And while I was in the Navy in 2003, we had the opportunity to volunteer in the Volunteer Income Tax Assistance Program. And so I volunteered for that program, and I was temporarily assigned to help out in that respect in the VITA program in Charleston, South Carolina. So I was part of that program, and I always took on the most challenging tax cases. We even had, higher income officers that would come in and get their taxes done, folks that had Schedule E's that needed to get done, and also a lot of Schedule D's, because some of these higher ranking officers had investments that they needed to account for on their taxes. So that really spurred the interest in the tax industry. And as I did my military service, I always helped out my fellow sailors on different deployments. I'd bring my laptop with me, and I always buy the software and download it, and I would also help my fellow sailors in doing their taxes. But I never did it for pay. And it wasn't until about 2008 or 9 that I was really getting a lot of people that were asking me for help, just because they knew that there was something that I did. And I guess it was kind of a hobby of mine to do it and just help people out and kind of stand over their shoulder and help answer questions. Because at that point, I'd already amassed a lot of knowledge just from doing it myself, and then volunteering in the VITA program. So really in 2009, I made the decision that I would try to figure out what it is I needed to do in order to be able to do this as a for-profit business. And so that's when I really made the decision, was in the middle of 2009. I was still active duty, and I was stationed here in San Diego. I had just been transferred to a shore duty aboard Naval Base San Diego. And I started getting all my continuing education, and I did the 60-hour course for the California Tax Education Council, and got registered, and then basically started researching all the things that I needed to do in order to be able to stand up a business and legally charge folks for my tax expertise. So the middle of 2009 is when I started with the tax season for 2010.
Wow. So you were completely self-taught. Is that what you're telling me?
That's correct.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting. So since growing your business, since 2009, how has technology impacted the way that you conduct your business?
So that was one of the key things, is that since I didn't have an office, I was basically working out of my home, and I set aside a bedroom to be able to have as my makeshift office. And so, and keeping in touch with all the technological advances that have been made, because I was already used to using technology while I was deployed. There's a very limited internet, so I would have to download softwares that, so the online option was not an option for me while I was in service doing my own taxes, let alone for other folks. But once I got to shore facility, then I know, okay, well, now I have a reliable internet connection, and I can look at, different solutions. But I started off using a specific tax program that was a downloaded program. I would buy it every year, starting with the 2010 tax season. And it was originally Tax Act Professional Series. So that's the software that I chose, just because I felt that it was the best value for my dollar. Being a small business, and not really knowing what I was doing as far as managing a business, but I knew how to do taxes. So that's how I started. And it was a great program. I used it for the first 6 years, and this year was the first year I switched to a completely online solution, which is Intuit ProConnect Tax Online.
Okay. And
The
so,
technology. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. You go ahead.
No, the technology is certainly a very important part of this industry, especially if you're going to go into it from like a solopreneur or a taxpreneur, or just starting off slow. And I've always maintained one mantra, and that's is you start small, and then you start growing, and then you just start spreading your tax brand via word of mouth advertising. It's always the best, and I don't think there's anything else out there that's going to be more qualitative reviews than word of mouth. Because once you build that trust with your client, then they're going to tell their friends and family that, when they talk about tax time, they're going to say, well, who does your taxes? And they're going to say, well, I have this guy, and he's been great, and I've been with him for a few years now, and he's always willing to help me out and answer my phone calls and whatever. So obviously there's going to be a capacity factor that comes into play. You're only one person if you're doing it by yourself. But then at that point, that's when you grow. And so then you got to start looking at different ways that you can grow your business.
Wow, that was great information. And I love that mantra. I think that so many solo taxpreneurs are on a quest for perfection. So they think that everything has to be perfect right then before they start putting themselves out there. But your mantra is just to start small wherever you are and just grow. Is that right?
Right. And then, so in addition to that, so when I also talk about starting small and growing is if you really want to do this industry, or if you really want to be in the tax preparation industry, there's so much competition out there. But you're really the only person you're really competing against is yourself. So you have to set yourself achievable goals, but not so easy that you're going to blow right by them. So you want to have short-term goals, and you want to have 5-term goals. So short-term goals are within 1 year. Long-term goals are 1 to 4 years, 1 to 5 years maybe. But what I did is I said, okay, well, I'm just going to start with locally, and trying to help my family out, help my friends out, like I was already doing. And then I was just saying, hey, I've gone professional. I've gotten the requisite credentials to be able to do it for you. If you want to help you, you can help me out. And, I'm not going to charge you a whole lot. And just basically my fee structure was representative of my knowledge level. And so as that built up, I got my bachelor's degree in 2013. And then, I increased my prices because now it says I'm a more educated person. And then in 2016, I went on and completed a master's in accounting degree. So that's when I said, okay, now I got to increase some more. As far as the certification side goes, I was just I was an IRS registered e-filer and a P10 holder, and I also participated in the AFSP program. So if you don't know what that is, you might want to look it up, because that would be the bare minimum that you would need to do in order to make yourself credible out there. And then from there on, once you start growing your business and you can't, you start getting the clients that are asking you for representation services, then that's the time when you need to look into, your career progression and see, okay, am I going to go after a CPA license? Am I going to go after law school? Or if I'm going to go after the enrolled agent designation from the IRS. So one of those three can do representation in front of the IRS. In California, in addition, we also have to be registered with the state, because we're one of the few states that are regulated, and that's through the California Tax Education Council. So that's another place that you have to go, and that's where you would get the minimum education requirements to be able to qualify you as a tax preparer in California for profit, and that's through the ctech.org website. So doing all those things, starting small. Right now I'm at the point where I've kind of grown as much as I can, and people are asking me for representation services, and I have to turn them away. I have a couple of enrolled agents that I prefer to work with, as well as one CPA, that when I get those types of cases, I have to refer them out just because I'm not an enrolled agent or a CPA or an attorney. So I have to refer that information. But it works both ways, because sometimes they have clients that just need preparation services, and we team up together. I'll perform the prep on the tax paperwork, get them all caught up, and they'll perform the representation side.
I love that because there's so many different businesses that we can align with. I always tell everybody, don't try to do everything. Just specialize in what you specialize in, and find a partner that you can trust, that you can refer people to. And, maybe they can give you something or you can give them something. But at the end of the day, it's that networking and building those partnerships that are going to help you grow. So, Tino, would you operate in the home office? What percentage of your tax clients are virtual? Is it 100%?
No, I do actually. I do some field work here locally with the local CPA firms, enrolled agents. We meet at, like either the public library or something like that. I also go to their offices if they have a storefront. And a lot of my clients are in-home visit. I go to their home and I bring my laptop, and it works great because they have their documentation there wherever they're at. And so they enjoy it because it's a more personalized service. They know they're paying a premium for it, and it's okay with them. When they're used to paying anywhere from $250 to $450 at one of the big box stores, it's okay for me to charge the prices that I charge because they're accustomed to it, but they're getting the added benefit that they don't have to leave the comfort of the home. As far as my virtual clients, I do say probably about 65% are probably virtual. The other 35% are local. And I have clients as far away as Japan. And I did have a client in Australia that were expatriates that are working over there. And those are remnants from my military service, just because I understand the types of jobs that ex-military service members and retired military service members are apt to get. So a lot of them will go work overseas for a contractor, and so a lot of foreign tax credit, Form 2555 comes into play. So I've kind of built, I guess you can say, a sort of a niche with the veteran marketplace.
Wow. I'm just finding this interview so valuable, and I thank you so much for coming on. You spoke about so many great things, but one of the things that I'm really drawn to is that you were able to create an experience for your clients where they don't leave the home, but you're not saying that that's a lesser value. You're actually doing an added benefit because they don't have to leave their home. A professional is coming in. Can you walk me through what that process looks like when you're at the door and you come into the client's home? What goes on?
So I basically come in, and think about it. It would be very similar to me having my own office at a, like on a strip mall or whatever, or an office park or an office complex. And instead of paying anywhere $1,500 to $2,500 in rent, that's added value because I don't have to spend that money. So my overhead is lower. Coming to the client's home, I come to their home, and it's basically a pickup service. I'm picking up their tax documents. I kind of converse with them. So I kind of maybe call it a hybrid virtual, because they get an email from me, or some of my folks will get even a letter, an old postal service letter with a questionnaire, and basically an organizer that has the information that I'm going to need in order to accurately prepare their tax return. My engagement letter is very, very specific on the confines of what they can expect from me and what I expect from them, because it's a teamwork. It's not really, oh, they're going to come and buy a service from me. In its most basic level, it is, but it's important for my clients to understand that this is a teamwork effort, because they're ultimately responsible for their tax return, because they're signing at the bottom line. So they're attesting at the bottom line that tax return is as accurate as possible. And the only way that's going to happen is if they are completely forthright and upcoming with their tax documents and tax information, and honestly answer the questionnaire that I have for them. So that questionnaire is also good work papers of mine, because in case I ever get audited by the IRS for making sure that I have all my paperwork straight, then that becomes part of the file, and it's something that I can have and show them and say, hey, well, this is what the customer, as far as covering your own assets,
Right. Okay, so for the 65% of your clients that are virtual, when you're not seeing them, what is the process like for that? What do you do before and after you file a return or get the documents from them?
So it's works much the same way as my local clients. Is what I do is I send them an email and I say, I'm touching up with them throughout the year. I don't bombard their emails, but I would say probably about maybe at the minimum 4 emails once per quarter, and just kind of touching highlights. I try to revolve it around their birthdays, things like that, and I send a nice birthday gram, and I say, hey, people that reach milestone ages, I say, hey, you might want to start thinking about this and thinking about that. And that's where my personal financial advisors contacts come in, because I say, hey, I have this person, this is his contact information, and it's up to them whether they want to contact them or not. But what I do is I as soon as tax time starts up, I send them their organizer, and it basically, based on their previous year's tax return and how I prepared it, I have a list of all the stuff that they provided to me last year. Anything that has come up during the year that they forgot or whatever, it has happened a couple of times, and say, oh, you forgot to include this last year, and it didn't come till later on, and we either had to do an amendment, or we were waiting until March in order to prepare your return, or even April to prepare your return because you were waiting on certain documents. So I bring those reminders to them, and they have it in the forethought, so that they know, okay, well, I don't have to worry about my taxes until the end of March, because I'm just going to wait until this specific tax document comes in, because it's late in arriving. They'll prepare their documents, and before, I had a secure file portal where they would upload their documents. It worked pretty good. This tax season, I transferred my business to Intuit ProConnect Tax Online, because they have this link program where it was basically all integrated, and it didn't work out very well, but I understand the complexities of information systems just from my previous background in industry and the government work that I did. So they're growing pains, and I understand them, and it's just, you have to be patient. But in the end of the day, we are paying for a service to the tax software providers. But the best thing to do there is just to be involved with the communities that are available. And so this year it worked pretty well for the most part for my 35% of virtual clients that I have. I did get a lot of feedback from them. Right now I'm still compiling questionnaires that I had from them, saying, hey, what worked, what didn't work. And because I notified them that I was going to be using a new software program before I even did it.
Wow.
Because in the end, I'm working for my client. I'm not working for myself. I'm trying to help. If I can't help them successfully and make it as a pain-free experience for them as possible, specifically with tax time, then it's not going to be a value added to them. They're going to see it as a chore. And a lot of my clients did see uploading the individual documents as a chore. So I'm going to make some changes this year. I'm going to have it, kind of go back the old way. So I may end up going back to my old file portal where they can just do one file and upload all their documents, or maybe break it up into 2 or 3 documents, like your W-2s and your 1099s and your, just whatever they have. So, but then after that, I go and I start working on the return. For the most part, I would say maybe about 85% of my clients will provide everything that I need on the first try, so I can get those returns done with fairly quickly. And then about 15% of my clients will probably forget a document, or they might have some new situation that comes up that I need to discuss with them on the phone. And then we just schedule that. We schedule an interview, and usually very quickly. And then after that, it's a phone interview, or we do a Zoom meeting or some kind of video conferencing, Skype, whatever it is that they have that they use, that's what I will use too. Great. So I am very, very agile when it comes to what virtual software I use in order to communicate with my clientele.
Wow.
And then at the end, I provide them a link to their tax return. They go in there. They pay for my services. First what they do is they go in there, they review the return. If they have any questions, they have the opportunity. We schedule another phone call, and I answer their questions. And then after that, we I present them with the e-file authorization forms, the Form 8879 and 8453, and for California, and then they'll sign them. When they sign them, they get the invoice, they pay my invoice, and then I e-file the return. Wow. Actually, no. First I send them the invoice. They pay for my service. At the same time they pay for my service, they get the e-file authorization forms, and then I e-file them.
Okay. So it kind of sounds like, is all of this stuff automatically happening in the background? Do they just click a button and then it automatically generates an invoice, or do you manually go and do that?
So I use QuickBooks Online, and I'm a QuickBooks Online accountant as well. So QBOA, and that just happened recently after I got my master's in accounting. So I can offer bookkeeping services for some of my business clients. But through the QBOA, I generate an invoice in there for my tax services. It goes right through their email inbox. They click on the link, and it's tied directly. If they use their bank account, it'll do an ACH draft on them, which is free to me, and that's good for business. But I also make it the option available if they say, hey, you know what, I don't want to pay you with my bank account. I'd rather pay you with my credit card. Then I will have that option selected for them so that they can use their credit card, and then I'll just get charged whatever the fee percentage is, which is very low anyways. It's a couple dollars off the top. Mm-hmm. But it works out really well. All that's automated. I just, I do run reports every week during tax time to kind of, if people are forgetting. I put a due date on the invoice, so, it'll send reminders, and you have the ability to, send automated reminders like every 2 days or every 3 days or however often you want within the QBO software package.
Wow. I just love it. And I really love your feedback system, how you're asking your clients. Beforehand, you let them know that you're going to be switching, something's going to be different, you can expect it. And then afterwards, how was your experience? And you're going to go back to the drawing table. And I think it's really important that we do that. We assess our business and we determine weak spots for our clients, because like you said, it's their experience. We're just facilitating that. So I really love what you said about that. Thanks so much. So do you have a team that works with you, or are you doing all of this solo?
No, I do all of this solo, and that's the importance of having a good plan laid out. You have to be willing to spend the time. It's a lot of work in the off season in order to make things happen correctly. On top of your education that you got to maintain, you want to be able to keep your customers engaged as well. So doing it by yourself, it is difficult sometimes, but it's not unachievable. I've been doing it since 2010, so wow. This is my 8th year. So
I love that.
And every year it's grown a little bit too.
So how do you market your services? How do you grow? You're not at one place. What types of things are you doing to market yourself?
So again, the strongest one is word of mouth. I have paid a couple of times Facebook ads. That works. So I got my Facebook business page that helps. I also have my Yelp business page that I have. I use the G Suite from Google and Google for Business. That's free. And so if it's free and I have the time to invest in it, then I'll do it. Right. And so things that are free, are obviously Google for Business is free. Your Facebook business page is free. Your Yelp business page is free. So you can do those things free right off the bat. Where it starts to cost money is when you want to start advertising through those mediums. If you can have a Yelp package, and it's been very expensive. So I don't personally recommend it unless you have the budget for it. The Facebook ads, they've worked pretty well for me. Every once in a while, I'll boost a post, and throughout tax season is when I run those campaigns, and it's not very expensive. It may be like $75 to $100 a month during tax season. So you're looking at about $300 to $400 of an investment. But it really puts your name out there. It really puts your name out there, and people are just Googling stuff or Facebooking stuff, and they'll come across especially if you want to just market to your immediate local area. The same thing with the Google ad and the Google AdWords. I have personally invested in Google AdWords, but I've heard really good things about it. For the most part, people will just Google tax preparer near me or tax preparer and then the zip code, and my business will come up, and I've gotten good results with that. One of the things I'm trying to do is trying to get my clients to engage them via social media and start leaving reviews and things like that, because a good large of a part of our economy, especially with the younger crowd, they'll read the reviews, and if they go buy off of those stars. If you got a lot of 5 stars, then you're more likely to get picked if you just have 1 stars, and if you have no stars, then you're not even credible at that point. So that's one of the things that's one of my challenges, and that's one of the things I'll be working on this year. And the latest one that I've gotten really involved in and has seen really good prospect is LinkedIn Professional. So LinkedIn Professional, it's a little pricey. I mean, well, it depends. It's $60 a month, but basically you build a LinkedIn profile, which is a professional social network, and then basically they'll send you people that are looking for your specific service, tax preparation service. You can say if you're, virtual or non-virtual, or you have an office, and the folks will say on there they don't mind working with virtual people, or they just want to work with in face-to-face, and they will farm your profile out when people are searching for those services on LinkedIn. And so that's really good because, you get a lot of details already about what they're looking for. They have a place to describe and say, hey, I'm looking for somebody that can do my taxes for the past 3 years, because I just haven't filed them for the past 3 years, and they want to get caught up, and they finally made the decision to get caught up, which is great and it's good for business. But if you don't know who those people are, it's kind of difficult to do that. And if they're already looking for that service on LinkedIn, then it makes it more beneficial to you because you have those people, and then you can say, hey, you know what? That's a little out of my knowledge level, or that's, and it also has the ability to see if their businesses, how much revenue they're generating. So, individually as a person and as a professional, what's out of your league and what's not out of your league. And it's not bad if something's out of your league. It just means you're not at that level yet. And you have to either get more education, you have to get more experience, and then you just have to put yourself out there.
Wow. Great. I did want to let you know what we implemented in our systems to get more reviews. We started doing a follow-up sequence. So after they got paid, we offered them like a gift certificate. And then the next email right after that is, hey, how was your experience? We would love it if you would send a review, and then just a link to our Google reviews. And we actually got 10 people just this past month to give reviews. And every time we get a review, we see an increase in clicks. So that's just something to think about. It might help you with that. And what are 3 top skills you think every tax professional should have, Tino?
So first and foremost, education. Education is the key to this industry. That's what's going to set you apart from your competition and your peers. Is the more education you have and the more understanding of the tax code that you have. And I'm not talking about memorizing tax code, because it's impossible. There's over 25,000 pages in the tax code, and no one's going to know it all. But just knowing where to go find the answers, that is key. Because everybody knows, when people peg you as the tax man, they'll come and ask you and say, hey, what should I do with this? And I go, you know what? I don't know. I'm going to go figure out. And I know where to find the answer. It's okay. It's okay to not know the answer right off the bat. It just all happens to do with the delivery of your answer. And so I've made it a point to myself to tell people, I don't know, but you know what? I have a lot of education, and I know where to go find the answer, and I'll find it for you, and I'll get back to you. And they appreciate that because they know you're going to take time out of your day to go find the answer for them. So education is key. Continuing education, there's all kinds of stuff that you can do for free that don't cost anything that you can get CPE credits for. So a lot of people may not know that. Go find those things out, especially if you're starting out. Get the free stuff. It's free. Don't be afraid. That's going to put you out there with the industry and your peers. And then be engaged in different communities online. If there's Facebook groups that you can join, local to you or national, LinkedIn groups as well, and be engaged and read what other people say. Just take it with a grain of salt. If there's something that you aren't sure of, go research it. Go look at that and go find the reg, go find the publications, and go find the primary and secondary sources for that information. So that would be the one thing that I say is the most important, is education. Number 2 is business acumen. And what I mean by that is when I first started this and I say, hey, you know what? I need to get more intelligent, because I started doing this back in 2010. I finished getting my bachelor's in 2013, but it was in the engineering field. And so recognizing that I had deficiencies in my knowledge level and I wanted to run my business better, I enrolled in a master's in accounting program, which I completed in 2016. But that didn't really show me how to manage a business. That just showed me more hard skills that I can offer my clients, which was great, but I still didn't know how to really manage my business. And so then I enrolled in a master's in business program, which I just finished last year in 2017. And that really set me apart. So if you have the ability to take business classes, I would say take those. You know, even if it's at a local community college, it doesn't have to be a master's degree, but really that's another thing is the business acumen. How to think outside the box, how to develop a business plan, how to develop a budget, how to develop different things for your business that's going to help you, that you're working on your business and not necessarily in your business, especially if you want to grow. So far I've been working in my business, which is great, which means I've been doing the taxes. But at some point, you know, I want to grow to where I'm just, you know, managing the business aspects of my company as opposed to working in it.
That's great. That's so great, Tino. And just lastly, if you had to give one piece of advice to a budding tax entrepreneur, what would that be?
If one piece of it, I'm sorry, what was that?
If you had to give one piece of advice to a budding tax entrepreneur, what would it be?
If you have a passion for taxes and you really want to do and work in this industry and you want to be an entrepreneur, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of the unknown, and be versatile and be agile, and don't be afraid to pivot. Don't fall in love with the softwares. Don't fall in love with different services. If you think there's something out there that might be better that you hear about, go research it, spend the time, and then if it makes sense, pivot and adopt it. Don't take no for an answer. You know, just be diligent and be vigilant and be honest. Above anything else, be honest and be ethical.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, I want to thank you so much for sharing those insights with us. Tino has been doing this for a long time, as we can see, and he has implemented the right systems and processes in his business. If you are ready to build a profitable tax business, take some of these tips and advices to heart, because we have been doing it for a long time and we have been through the growing pains. We know what it takes. So again, this is the first episode of the Business Spotlight series. Be sure to tune in. We're going to be talking to pros from all over the world and getting their advice and a day in their life and their stories. So thank you so much, Tino. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.